It's time for another episode of the Shaun Tabatt Show, a podcast where I connect you with thought leaders from across the globe, digging into some of my favorite topics like personal development, marketing, spirituality, and just about any other shiny object that happens to strike my fancy. Today, my special guest is New York Times bestselling author Jason Hanson, and we're going to be discussing his brand new book, Survive Like a Spy. Real CIA operatives reveal how they stay safe in a dangerous world and how you can too. Jason, thanks for joining us on today's show.
Hey, my pleasure. Thank you, Shaun.
Well, first off, I'm curious to hear, how did you end up working for the CIA? We all dream of special, fancy, exciting jobs when we're kids. So I'm curious, is this a dream that started when you were young, or is this some sort of a goal that emerged over time?
Well, it was kind of a dream when I started young, and it was because I'm an Eagle Scout. I was in the Boy Scouts. I was always running around shooting BB guns in the woods. I never wanted a quote-unquote real job. And I was born and raised just a few miles outside of Washington, D.C. in the Northern Virginia area. And, of course, in that area, every government agency in the world is in your backyard. And I applied to a bunch of government agencies, and the CIA and the Secret Service offered me a job. And I went with the agency just because I thought it would be a little more exciting.
And how long did you serve?
I was there from 2003 to 2010.
One of the things I thought about as I was going through the book is, with a book like this where you're talking to a wide range of folks, one of the unique challenges is you have to modify names, places, stories to protect identities of your sources. So what were some of the interesting things you've run into with compiling and researching this sort of a book, and how did you overcome some of those challenges?
So every book I write, I have to actually send to the agency to review. And so they have to review it to make sure there's no classified information. I didn't reveal anything I wasn't allowed to reveal. And usually it's a shorter process, but this time it took me about 6 months. So I'd send them in a manuscript. They'd say, no, you can't do this, you can't do this. And then I'd have to go back and say, but what about this? Well, what about this? And so after 6 months, we were able to change all the names and the sources and get everything. And actually, out of the entire book, only about 3 pages got fully redacted. So I was very pleased with that because they didn't chop out much of the book at all.
Another thing I'm curious about, for you, what has been the primary motivation or driver that pushes you to share your special skills and knowledge with the public? Was there a certain catalyst or an aha moment that got you started down this path?
I think it's kind of what we're all born with that we're good at. So we all have huge passions. We're all good at something. So if you want me to fix your car, I'm the last guy in the world you should call. I'm not an artist. I can't play the piano, but I'm very good at security, keeping people safe. And so because I love it, because I'm good at it, that makes me want to get up every day and figure out, okay, how can I keep my own family safer? How can I help others safer? What are the latest tactics and strategies? So again, it's my passion. It's what I love to do.
Well, and one of the things I really love about your book is that you're teaching the readers tangible, practical skills through storytelling, where people get so caught up in the story that they're reading, they might not even realizing that they're learning something along the way. What do you think it is about this format that helps things to really stick with the reader long term?
Well, you've got to make people want to read it. They've got to be excited. If I sit you down and just say, okay, here's how you keep safe. Do 1, 2, 3, and 4, that's pretty boring. And people are so busy these days, if you don't catch their attention and they're bored, they're going to go do something else. So in the book, I revealed and went over real CIA operations that had never been shared before. They're incredibly exciting. And then you're reading these stories, wow, I can't believe the CIA did this. And at the end, you see how you can apply what the CIA operatives did to your own life to make yourself safer.
Next, let's give the listeners a taste of some of the things that they're going to encounter in the book. First, set up, how are the chapters laid out? Because you have a mix of story and practical things that you're teaching people. How would you best describe that to somebody who hasn't read the book yet?
Sure. So many of the chapters are starting with the mission. We talk about who the players are. Here is the CIA operative. Here's what he was trying to do. Here was his target. So we give the target's name, date, time, and place. And so here's what kind of that mission was. And then we describe the mission. So we're telling it like you're there. You can experience the play-by-play of this entire CIA operation. And then at the end are all the teaching points of, here's what you could do to make sure you're never kidnapped. Here's what you could do to travel safely and make sure your hotel isn't invaded and all that kind of stuff.
We live in a global culture. We're all traveling constantly, it seems, these days. What are some of the critical things or critical items we all need when traveling in what many people refer to as this age of terrorism?
The whole point and everything I do is to keep it simple. in reality, if you're an operative going overseas, you're not going to carry 10,000 pounds of equipment and all this stuff on you. Because if you get stopped in a foreign country and you got satellites hanging out of your pockets, obviously that doesn't look good. So it's simple gear. Like one of my favorite things is a belt. And a belt can be used many ways. First, you can use it as a tourniquet. So if there's some kind of crash or somebody's bleeding, you can take it off and, again, use it as a tourniquet. You can take off a belt and swing it so it can smash a window with the belt buckle. Of course, it holds up your pants. The belts I use have hidden compartments. So I can keep gear in my belt. So there are travel belts where you can hide money, you can hide copies of your passport, all kinds of stuff. Because I'm a little crazier and may travel to dangerous areas, I've got lockpick sets, I've got bobby pins and hair barrettes for escaping handcuffs. So I've got all kinds of things in my belt. Another one, again, super simple, is a flashlight. Get a good quality pocket flashlight, so if you're on a plane and something happens, you can see in the dark. If you're in a hotel overseas and there's an attack and the electricity goes out, you have that pocket flashlight with you. A very simple flashlight could be the difference between life and death. I'll just give you one more, is antibiotics. When you travel overseas, have some antibiotics with you. If you get stuck somewhere and there's some kind of riot or looting and it's several days before you can get to safety and you happen to be sick, you want to be able to have those antibiotics because obviously if you're sick, it's going to be a lot tougher to survive. So those are just a few simple things that anybody can do.
Next, let's talk about what are some of the things that would give somebody, say, the best odds of surviving a kidnapping. And this is something that just in our age of trafficking and just the state of the world, I mean, this is a concern here in the West as well as abroad. So what are the things that are going to give us the best chance of survival?
So one of my favorite stories in the book is about how the government kidnapped a narco-terrorist, a really bad drug dealer, and got him off the streets. Now, that guy obviously deserved to get kidnapped. But heaven forbid somebody kidnaps us. Obviously, we should kick, scream, fight, do everything we can to avoid getting in that vehicle or getting in the van. But heaven forbid, let's say all the kicking and screaming didn't do any good, and you ended up in that vehicle, you want to leave a DNA trail so that the police and the FBI can locate you. And that means you're sticking your finger down your throat, causing yourself to puke all over the van or puke all over a room. That means you're somehow cutting your finger and wiping blood inside a van or wiping blood inside the room they take you. So it doesn't sound pleasant now, but it may save your life because you're leaving this trail of DNA, which makes it hopefully a lot easier for rescuers to find you.
And next, let's say somebody is following us. What are some practical steps we could take to deal with that?
My favorite thing is called an SDR, and SDR stands for Surveillance Detection Route. And all that means is if you're a spy in a foreign country and you're going to a meeting, you don't just get in your car and drive from point A to point B. You may go to Walmart first, then you may go to Starbucks, then you may go to the gym, then you may go to your meeting. And you're going to all those places because if you see the same cars or same people at all those different locations, then you're being followed and you would abort the meeting. Well, anybody can run an SDR, so I can leave my office, and if I think somebody's following me, clearly I'm not going to go home and pull right in my driveway. I'm going to pass my house and maybe take a left turn here, a right turn here, a left turn there. And if that same car is behind me, well, then obviously I know I'm being followed and it's time to call the police or go somewhere safe. So anybody can run a 5-minute SDR, and that's how you tell if somebody's following you.
And next, let's talk about one of my favorites in the book. And this was kind of an aha moment for me. I'm married. I've got 9 kids, so I got lots of kids running around the neighborhood.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
How can the average person or the average family use covert communication signals to protect their family? This one really fascinated me.
I'll actually back up. So my company does a lot of celebrity protection. So we do bodyguard and security work for A-list celebrities. And they don't want to cause a scene. So if somebody is making them uncomfortable, they want to get out of a place, we'll have some kind of covert communication. And that could be, hey, if you think this guy is really creeping you out, run your fingers through your hair or scratch your ear or rub your nose, whatever they want. And if we see that, we know, hey, we've got to get her out of here or him out of here. Well, if your kid, a lot of kids, again, socially, they don't want to feel uncomfortable. They don't want to make a scene. And you can say, hey, if you're at the park, little Johnny, and something doesn't feel right and you want daddy to come help you or whatever, just pull down on your ear or just pat your head or, you make up whatever silly thing you want to. And so those are things that kids can do. They think it's fun, and that's very important when you're doing security with children, is it's got to be fun and exciting or they won't do it. So they can know if I ever feel uncomfortable and I don't want to scream, but maybe this man said something to me, I can pat my head and dad knows immediately, come get me. So those are some easy ways that, you can do covert communication.
Well, and when you think of, say, readers getting to the last page of the book, if they only take away one key concept or move forward doing one thing differently, what do you most hope that is for every reader?
Man, that is a great question. There's so many tactics that I put in the book. What I really want to take away is that anybody can do this. You don't need to be a CIA operative. You don't need to be a ninja. A good friend of mine who's also former CIA, he says spying is common sense on steroids. So if you read my book, if you have common sense, you can implement everything in there, and I promise you'll be a lot safer, more safe than 99% of people out there.
I've talked to hundreds of authors, and I know every book writing process is a journey. I'm curious to hear, for you with this book, is there anything unexpected that you learned along the way, or maybe something that you now do differently after writing this book?
I've written a few books now, with my third, fourth. And so by this point, I've got it down. I mean, writing, some people just flow and it's great, but I'm very methodical. So I've got to sit down and make a list. I've got to do certain things a day. So it's a very step-by-step process for me. And I just know I got to go through that step-by-step process. And I'm also very hard on myself. I expect everything to be perfect. I never want to release a book unless I think it's going to be incredible and really help people. And so I've got to go back and review it and make sure that it's got all the elements in there, the strategies and stuff that'll keep people safe. So I'm hard on myself, so it's a long process and not a super smooth process for myself.
Well, as we begin to wrap up here, it'd be a shame if we didn't talk about your training school. So let's go there next. Would love to hear a little bit about how that got started. What range of things do you teach in your program, and what are the sorts of people that come through the program? It sounds like it could be anybody from professionals to the average person off the street.
That's absolutely right. So we have a 320-acre facility in Cedar City, Utah, and it's called Spy Ranch. And we do shooting, we do evasive driving. And so when we're doing evasive driving, you get to ram a vehicle. We teach you to do a 180 reverse turn. It's really hands-on. We do escape and evasion training there. We do self-defense, knife defense. And so it encompasses everything. And as you mentioned, we get CEOs and high net worth individuals to realtors to doctors. One of the most unique people that ever came out there or that ever wanted training was Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey circus clown. And this individual wanted the training because they travel all over the world. And so when they're in foreign cities, they want to be safe. So you probably named the background. We've trained them out there. But it's a lot of fun because they're getting, about as close to real-world experience as possible, and we push them to the limit, and when they leave, they're a lot better trained to take care of themselves.
And Jason, if people want to connect with you, find out more about your books, find out more about the school, where are some of the places they can seek you out online?
Sure. They just go to our website, which is spyescape.com, and that's got all the info on training, books, and a bunch of free information, too.
Well, like we do with every episode, we'll be sure to have detailed links in the show notes. So once you're done listening, head on over to shauntabatt.com. We'll have links to places where you can buy Jason's books, places you can find out more about the school. It's time to bring this episode of the Shaun Tabatt Show to a close. Many thanks for being a part of my conversation with Jason Hanson. Once again, our book today was Survive Like a Spy. And again, if you want to connect with Jason, find out more about the book, find out more about the school, be sure to check out their website at spyescape.com. And Jason, I just want to say thanks so much for sharing with us today. It's been a great pleasure and an honor to speak with you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Shaun.